Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and give you the clearest take on what really matters. And today, we're hitting that big question, the one everyone's kind of whispering about. Will AI replace my job? For way too long, the answers felt buried under hype, lots of opinion, maybe some fear-mongering. We want to get past the vibes. You need something solid, data-driven, right? Something that respects your career.
And we finally have some solid data to dig into. We're doing a deep dive today on OpenAI's GDPval benchmark. This is really significant because, well, it's the first big evaluation that stops just looking at theoretical tests. It measures AI performance against actual knowledge work tasks.
Oh, okay, so not just abstract questions, but can it, write the report, build the spreadsheet?
Exactly. Can it produce a deliverable, a slide deck, a budget analysis, you name it, that genuinely stacks up against what a seasoned professional creates?
That difference deliverable versus test score, that feels crucial. So our mission today, translate this data into, well, a practical plan for you. We're moving beyond just fear or excitement. We want a clear data-backed picture of how automation is likely to unfold in knowledge work. We'll look at what tasks are really at risk, what skills remain deeply human, indispensable even, and importantly, what steps you can take right now, how to maybe turn this disruption into an advantage.
Okay, so let's unpack this GDPval benchmark then. What makes it such a clearer signal? How'd they set it up to be so rigorous?
The rigor is pretty impressive, actually. First off, the people involved, they didn't just grab anyone. They recruited professionals with, on average, about 14 years of experience in their field.
14 years. Wow. So we're not talking about recent grads here. No, definitely not. Think highly paid VPs, senior managers, people whose work commands top dollar. They're the benchmark. And these experts design tasks mirroring day-to-day work. Full slide decks, complex spreadsheets for budget reconciliation, process diagrams, even multimedia stuff. Then, the AI models give it their best shot. And crucially, other human experts paid subject matter pros do a blind grading. They compare the AI output against the human-created versions without knowing which is which.
Blind grading, okay.
Yeah.
And the scope.
It's huge, covers 44 different occupations across the top 9 sectors driving GDP. The whole benchmark has something like 1,300 tasks, with a key subset of 220 tasks the gold set open for anyone to look at. It's about as real-world as you can get in a test setting.
Okay, grading against seasoned pros, blind comparisons, that context really makes the main result hit harder, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the big headline finding is, well, the top AI models are already rated as good as or better than these human experts in roughly half of those gold set tasks.
Wait, say that again, half?
Roughly half, yeah. It's getting close to parity against experienced industry professionals for a significant chunk of common knowledge work deliverables.
Okay, half is. Wow, the specific number you mentioned was Claude Opus 4.1 leading.
That's right. Claude Opus 4.1 had a 47.6% win plus tie rate against these pros. So nearly half the time, its output was seen as either equal to or better than the human expert's work.
Almost half the core outputs. Indistinguishable or better. That's sobering.
And it's not like progress is slowing down. If you track performance release over release, say from GPT-4o towards what we expect from GPT-5, it's improving roughly linearly.
Yeah.
The capability curve is still climbing steadily.
Right, a steady climb.
Yeah.
Which brings up the obvious question. If it's improving that fast, why aren't we seeing, mass chaos, immediate layoffs everywhere? What does GDPval tell us about why that isn't happening?
That linear improvement is key context, but here's the absolute crucial insight from GDPval, the thing that really reframes the whole debate. Models automate tasks. They don't just delete entire roles.
Tasks, not roles.
No, exactly. Your job title might not vanish overnight, but the hours you spend on certain types of procedural work, those could shrink dramatically. Think task compression. The study shifts the focus from, am I getting replaced, to which parts of my day are becoming automated.
Okay, task compression. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So which tasks then? Where does the data show AI really shining?
The data is pretty clear here. Models excel where the work is well-specified, repetitive, precise, maybe time-bound or based on a template, the kind of stuff that often feels like a grind, honestly.
Right, I can picture that, like taking messy meeting notes and turning them into a clean, structured brief for the exec team, that kind of thing.
Precisely, or maybe cross-checking a long policy document against new regulations to flag any conflicts. If it feels like following a clear set of rules, if it's repetitive, if you could almost write a template for it, that's where the automation pull is strongest.
And the source material even breaks it down by model, which is fascinating. Like you might pick your AI tool based on the specific kind of task. I'm looking at table 2 here. It says Claude Opus 4.1 is really good at aesthetics, layout, presentation polish.
Yeah, that's a huge point for anyone who communicates visually. Project managers, consultants, analysts, shipping slide decks. If your bottleneck is making raw info look good, making it clear and polished for an audience, Claude might be your go-to for that first draft.
Interesting. And then GPT-5.
GPT-5, according to this, seems to shine more in accuracy and instruction following. So think careful calculations, sticking strictly to rules, budget checks, compliance tasks, stuff where precision and following detailed instructions are paramount.
Huh. So does that mean you almost need, like, 2 AI assistants, one for making it look good and one for making sure the numbers are right?
Or it suggests the human's value shifts. Maybe you become the synthesizer, right?
Yeah.
You assign the number crunching to GPT, the polishing to Claude, and then you're the final editor merging the strengths. And underlying all this is the sheer throughput advantage. Models can crank out that first draft, that initial reconciliation, way faster and cheaper than, say, a junior team member you might have assigned it to previously.
Right. That's the compression.
That's the task compression in action. Financial analysts spending less time matching line items, support leads getting instant incident summaries instead of writing them manually.
Okay, let's flip this around then. Because if those procedural tasks are shrinking, we need to focus on where the irreplaceable value lies. The human part. Judgment, ownership, trust.
Exactly. A role becomes much more AI resistant, you could say, when its core value comes from choices that are really hard to just, write down as instructions, difficult to delegate. We can use the SAFE framework to think about this, drawing from what GDPval shows models aren't good at yet.
SAFE framework. Okay, what's the S?
S is for strategic decision-making. This is about choosing goals, setting constraints, especially when there's no single right answer or metric. Deciding the trade-off between speed and perfection, or balancing short-term wins against long-term risks. That's strategy.
Got it. And A?
A is ambiguity navigation. This is dealing with the messy stuff. Shaping the problem when the request you get is vague, maybe even contradictory, or just incomplete. The study noted models tend to stumble when the context is thin or the initial ask isn't crystal clear.
But is that ambiguity part really permanent? Couldn't more training data eventually help models handle vague requests better? Is that truly a human moat?
That's a really fair point. It might be less about handling ambiguity perfectly and more about the ability to shape the problem before the model even sees it. Think about it. A human manager gets a confusing memo from the CEO. They can read between the lines, maybe guess the hidden agenda, call a couple of people to clarify, and then define a clear objective for their team or even for an AI prompt. The model just gets the confusing text. It's that human ability to go from chaos to a structured request that's the real skill, the moat.
Okay, that makes sense. Shaping the inputs. What about F?
F is final accountability. Simple but huge. You own the outcome. You carry the risk. The model can generate the analysis, draft the plan, but it can't sign off on it, can't take the heat if things go wrong. That rests with a person.
Right, can't fire the algorithm. And E's?
And E is empathetic human connection. Building trust, reading the room during a tense negotiation, modulating your tone, building relationships, getting genuine buy-in from stakeholders. These deeply human skills, they just don't map to how AI models learn or operate.
So roles rich in those safe tasks. You mentioned examples like product leaders, clinical managers, maybe defense attorneys, investigative journalists, enterprise sales leads.
Exactly. People whose jobs involve high-stakes decisions, navigating complex human dynamics, taking responsibility. Those roles have a strong safe core. But there's a nuance on the timeline here. We see this steep capability curve, right? Models getting better fast, but the adoption curve in the actual economy, that tends to be slower. Think about how long it took for electricity or PCs to fully transform every office. There's organizational culture, inertia, existing policies, compliance hurdles. All that stuff creates friction. So AI isn't likely to replace your entire job tomorrow morning, but it will keep chipping away, absorbing those well-specified procedural tasks at a pretty relentless pace. That part isn't slowing down.
Okay, so the capability is there, adoption takes time, but the direction is clear. What does this mean for you listening right now? The takeaway seems to be, don't wait for some company-wide memo. The people who thrive are the ones redesigning their own work, starting today. So let's walk through those 5 steps from the research. Step 1, inventory your work. Okay, practically speaking. Pull up your calendar, look at what you actually shipped last month. List maybe the top 10 things. Then, for each one, seriously ask, which parts were procedural, Clear rules, repeatable outputs. Circle those. And which parts were safe, strategy, ambiguity, accountability, empathy, those circled procedural parts. That's your immediate handoff list for your AI copilot. Stop grinding on the low-leverage stuff.
Right, which leads directly to step 2, become an AI shepherd. You're not just passively using a tool, you're guiding it. Your value isn't just doing the task, it's shaping the request and critically judging the result. This is what they call scaffolding.
Scaffolding. Can you give an example? Like, beyond just asking ChatGPT to write an email.
Sure. Scaffolding means being really precise about constraints. Don't just say, write a budget summary. Instead, write a one-page budget summary comparing Q3 actuals to forecast, specifically for the finance and marketing VPs. Ensure the tone for finance is cautious, highlighting risks, while the tone for marketing is more optimistic, focusing on potential upsides. Output must be exactly 4 bullet points per department, using only data from the attached spreadsheet Q3actuals.xlsx and flag any variance over 10%. See the difference? The specific audience, the tone constraints, the required format, the reference file. That's scaffolding. That's the shepherd guiding the AI.
Got it. Much more directive. Okay, step 3.
Step 3. Double down on the human mode. Focus relentlessly on the skills that AI doesn't have, but that get you promoted. Things like clarity in your writing and speaking, especially under pressure, brevity, real negotiation skills, the kind that save a key deal, being the person who can actually run a cross-functional meeting and get to a decision, basically become the go-to person for settling ambiguity, brokering tough conversations, and moving things forward when the path isn't clear. That's safe E-work.
Makes sense. Build the moat. Step 4.
Step 4. Wrap your team around a new loop. Don't just do this in isolation. Teams that really leverage this will build a simple rhythm into how they work. Something like, model generates the first pass in human reviews and refines above. Maybe the model rebuilds based on feedback. Ship. Start small. Pick maybe 3 recurring documents or tasks that always seem to block your team's progress. Could be status updates, simple business cases, post-mortem reports. Standardize using the model for the first, say, 80% draft every single time. Implement that task compression systematically.
Okay, standardize the loop. And the final step, step 5.
Step 5. Measure the lift and share it. Remember, GDPval found big gains in speed and quality parity. You need to try and replicate that finding locally, within your own work or team. Actually track things. What was the average time it took to create that weekly report before using the AI loop? What is it now? Are error rates lower? Quantify it. This turns the vague idea of AI impact into concrete productivity gains you could actually show to your boss or your team. It makes the case for change.
Measure it, prove it. Got it.
And underpinning all this, really, is a final mindset shift. You have to start treating the model as a force multiplier, not some kind of rival you're competing against.
Yeah, like a tool, not a threat.
Exactly. Put it between you and that intimidating blank page. Let it tackle the first pass of that spreadsheet reconciliation you dread. Use it deliberately to handle the procedural bits, freeing up your time, your human bandwidth for the irreplaceable safe work. The focus fundamentally shifts from, will AI replace my job, to something more like, okay, which parts of my job am I choosing to delegate to AI so I can focus on higher value stuff? That's a powerful reframe. And that's the challenge we want to leave you with today. Don't just listen to us talk about it. Ground this debate in your own day-to-day work. Don't wait for some top-down policy or for the tech to force your hand later. Pick one thing this week. One recurring report, one summary doc, whatever it is. Try that model first loop. Use good scaffolding. And just measure the minutes you save. Find your own productivity lift.
And then, crucially, anchor that newly freed up time in the safe zone, in strategy, in navigating ambiguity, in taking accountability, in building relationships. Because when you start quantifying the time you save, the question really does stop being, will AI replace my job? It will become something much more proactive, much more strategic. How quickly can we reassign our precious human time to higher value work? That's the transition you need to be thinking about, and maybe even leading.